Alright, so I quit the first Descendant after Season 2 launched. I was not happy with the design of the Void Vessel mission, as it was a lot of just walking around maps navigating as opposed to actually killing anything. And this is coming off the Season 1 content, which was Invasions. And in this content, what you would do is you go around the normal maps that you have been going around for dungeons, but now they have a puzzle in it that's all just memory game. This was them trying to attempt the types of gameplay within the game, which it's good to try, but for the most part, they had a very negative impact on the community. Mostly Season 1 over Season 2, people really hated that. And so that really made me concerned for the future of the game, and I decided I just did not want any part of Season 2. However, I decided to try Season 3, and I went back to the game 2 days before Season 3 launched, and I found out that you can actually complete the Season 2.5 Battle Pass in 2 days, and really actually just one. And the reason I did that is because Season 2.5 was the first Battle Pass they released so far that actually had a weapon that had value. Everything else launched really shitty, but the Malevolent is actually a good gun off the rip. I decided to go back for Season 3 because it looked a little bit more like the game I started playing. It looked more like the base game rather than these gimmicks. So I want to start off with talking about quality of life changes and just changes to the game that I have made so far within the time I was gone. Those part is for people who also quit the game or took a break at the same time or even longer than I have. So somewhere along the line in Season 2, they actually added a pity system to the game. That garnered a lot of goodwill from the community because this is just a grindy game. How it works is you target an item, and then every time you have a failed attempt, it works up towards 100%, and then that's when you get the item itself. Now, there are limitations to it, as it only works on the actual drop from a boss or mob. This means coming from the early content of amorphous materials. You can target the amorphous material drop, but you cannot target the item within it. Now, in Season 2, they actually added content that had direct drops from the field itself for the completion of the bosses, so you could actually target farm items specifically in that content. Another big thing is just the dog. I never completed it in my short stay as Season 2 initially, but coming back now after having it, the game feels pretty unplayable without it, or it would be very miserable without it. It being able to auto-dismantle things is just a big time saver. And with one of the power systems that add cores, these things litter your entire map worth of things. If you go around and grab everything on your own, it's just going to be miserable. Another good change is they also increased your crafting cap to 7 instead of 5, instead of putting that behind a wall of mastery. Also, when you're looking at farming a certain item or part, for example, you can see the list of drops, and usually from there you would have to go back to your consumables and see if you have that amorphous material to open up for that. Now that screen will show you if you had that amorphous material, so it saves you a lot of time and a lot of really annoying back and forth trying to remember what number amorphous it was that you're looking for, so on and so forth. Also, I don't know if the game launched with it, but now it does have a mass dismantle and a mass combine of things that are dupes, which is another time saver. And the last big thing I can think about is the Photon Imprinter. This is the item that finally allows you to transfer your catalyst and everything you invested into a normal Descendant over to an ultimate Descendant. As of right now, however, this is only a event/reward based item. Right now, you can currently get one in the new player event that's going on that anybody can get. Now, it's not confirmed, but people do believe that we are going to get one in every event before a new ultimate or with a new ultimate. But since that isn't really 100% confirmed, I would say hold on to this one for a character that you really like, just in case they decide not to give you one. Now, on to Season 3 itself. Season 3 really is a bit of return to form to the game that I remember from the launch, because it launched as a just go target farm, grind things, get loot. Season 1's content was really just doing this memory game on these dungeons every day. Season 2 was a void vessel which had very few combat areas and was just running through an area a lot of the time. 2.5 added the Sigma sector, which I actually came back and really enjoyed because it is just a grindy area. And that really is what Season 3 is. It is just a return to just grinding things. It is literally just one big field, the Axiom Plains, and you just go around the area and do missions. Ideally, you want to focus the mission that has this icon on it with like some teeth on it. This is because it has additional drops and rotates around the map. Also, a fun thing about Season 3 content is it can basically drop blueprints and completed things for all the old content. So for newer players, like everything that can drop out of this place is going to be very valuable. You might get a completed part for a character and then you can go farm out the rest. It doesn't matter to me since I have most of the old stuff farmed, but this is still a good addition. Now remember that goodwill I mentioned that they generated with the pity? Well, they flushed that in Season 3. So in Season 2.5, they had things that you could target farm because things were just drops off the final bosses of the Sigma sector. And you would think they would continue on with that because people really liked that. However, instead in Season 3, you have one box that has every single drop inside of it. So that box can have all your Nell parts, it has all your Orca parts, all your Vortex parts, and all your Eraser parts. But then there are additional box drops for each one of those individually. So there's a box that has only Eraser parts, there's a part with only Orca parts, and there's a part with only Vortex parts. Those latter ones there fill pretty slowly when it comes to pity. The one that does build up pretty decently is the universal box that covers every single item, so there is a lot of RNG again going into it, because it's not that easy to just target farm a single item. It's targeting farming a box that has every item in it. So these are basically just another amorphous material without calling it an amorphous material. So there is a bit of backlash from the community saying that this is just another way to pad the hours. But I'm going to be honest, it's actually not that bad. Yes, you are going to have to grind a little bit, but at least right now in the daily logins, there are 2 boxes that you can target pick out 2 items. So ideally, you'd want to hold those until you have 2 items left that you're trying to target farm and just open the boxes for those. I managed to complete everything already without using any of those boxes, however. Beyond that, there is the Wall Crasher fight that functions like a world event, unfortunately, which means it's a fight that you can do on the hour, every hour only at that time. It is unique that it is a 8-player fight, however, it is basically a giant meat sponge for Serena to carry the rest of the party for. Which I think a big miss for this is that fields are only 4 players in the Axiom Plains. I think Axiom Plains should actually be a 8-player field. These missions are just jam-packed with mobs, and it would just be a lot more fun with more people there. But unfortunately, there is a lot of people having performance issues in general in Season 3, so there's probably no chance of an 8-player field coming anytime soon. There is also like an ARC module, like an upgraded new module that you can get that comes from this content, but I'm mostly focusing on the gameplay itself. Which the bikes, the vehicles, they're alright, they're serviceable, they're a little clunky sometimes, but they get the job done. And you can use this in pretty much all the old content besides old dungeons. There's a part of me that wishes there were like Once Human and did goofy routes with things, like letting you do tricks and flips off them and probably crash it and damage it. I don't know, I just have a lot of fun doing stupid things on bikes. The roadmap is looking pretty decent. It is a shame that swords got pushed back, but I'm still very much looking forward to them. I am just very curious on how they handle melee combat. Though it is a little concerning and disappointing that there really isn't much field content in Season 3, which Season 3 is all about Axiom Plains, the field. I know they have said they plan to populate it a little bit more and add more to it over time, but I would like to see more major things on it in the roadmap, especially another field Colossus. While Wall Crasher isn't like the greatest fight ever, I don't think that content should be a one and done situation. The game itself and the population is higher than I expected it to be. You can basically queue for any content and get a party. If you're doing any Season 2 or Season 3 content, you're pretty much always going to see people around. But the thing about Season 3 and TFD in general is you can actually complete all the content that they launch on this last patch in just a few days. Which actually makes TFD a really good side game, because this is a game that you can play for a week and then drop it to the next content update and still have everything done. To others, this is a bad thing, as a lot of people like to invest a lot of time to a single game. The irony about the latter is they'll probably complain that a game doesn't respect their time when that happens. For me, however, now that they've added weapon cores, the gun slot is no longer basically a cosmetic, and also the photon imprinters, I am more willing to invest into guns and characters I have not before, which is definitely going to pad my time for a little bit here. So to sum things up, TFD has been out for a year, and since then they have made a lot of great changes to the game. Unfortunately, there was a lot of bumps on the way, and it took a lot of time to get there. And the truth is, a lot of people already have written off the game from their past experience, probably from a year ago. So if you enjoyed the game when it came out and you just thought it needed a little bit more to it, I would say give the game another shot. If you're looking for a more casual looter shooter game, this is a good place to start. And lastly, for the Warframe players, yes, I know I'm going to try your game sooner or later.